Here are 5 things that I ask myself before making any sort of investment. So the first thing that I like to ask is whenever I'm working with an operator, so somebody who's operating my investment, I ask them how long they have been doing this for. Because the truth is there are so many brand new operators and so-called money managers and people who want to manage investments, but they really don't know what they're doing. And that's where it gets difficult, because we have these people who they may be fairly skilled, but they're probably not the best option for you to invest with because they're still brand new. They haven't gone through any challenges per se in their field. And so they're not able to mitigate those risks and get through challenges. So there's a couple skills that you learn as an investor and that you learn as somebody who manages investments and operates investments is that it's not always sunshine and rainbows. There are going to be some days that just aren't that great. And so when you have those days, how do you work through those challenges? How can you find a way to still be profitable? How can you find a way to make sure that your net profit is not affected and that you're still making money even when you have a challenging day? So how do you control your downside? And that's very important. And so when you ask that person that first question, how long have you been doing this for? You're going to find out a lot of information. So if they've been doing it less than 2 or 3 years, I would say it's a little bit risky to go with that person. But if you're working with somebody who's been in the industry for 3, 4, maybe 5 to 10 years, now you're starting to work with somebody who has a great level of expertise and they have a deep knowledge on the subject. So when you have somebody that has a deep knowledge on the subject, they've probably been through a couple situations where not everything went super smoothly, but they were still able to create a profit for their clients and they didn't lose the business. That's key. You have to make sure that they've been in business for a while, so they have some history, they have some track record that you can use to inform your investment. The second thing that I ask is, how long can I do this? I want to make sure that I'm investing into things that are super long term. So there's one criteria for me for every investment is when I'm investing into it, I'm not investing into something that's just a month or two. Sure, I'll do a couple flips here and there. I flip watches, I'll flip cars, doesn't matter what it is, maybe a house, right? But for me, the big money is made in the long term, in the waiting game. The people who are patient are the ones that make the most money. And so for me, it's a long game. How can I get in that long game and maybe forfeit some of those immediate profits, right? Forfeit some of that immediate cash flow, but in the long run, I'm going to be making a lot of money. So I always look for opportunities for me to invest into something that's long term. So if I ask somebody, how long can I do this for? And their answer is maybe a year or 2 years, or it's anything less than about 5 years, I would be very cautious about investing into that. And so for me personally, that's the first red flag. If I can only do this for 6 months or maybe even 2 years, that's still not enough time. I want to be in something that's probably going to be around for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. The longer, the better. I want something that's super long term, something that I can hold on to and invest in for a very long time. And then this brings me to my third question is, how many times can I do this? If I do this, how many times can I do this over and over and over again? So I might be able to do it for 10 years, right? But what about after that 10 years? How can I, at that point, begin to scale, right? How many times can I do this? This is really a scaling question. How can I scale this business? How many times can I do this? So if I can do this as many times as I possibly want, that's a great sign, because if it works once, I'm going to go ahead and do it over and over and over again until I've built up a huge portfolio that's paying me enough passive income to support my lifestyle. So this is all about creating as much passive income as possible. And so the way that we're mitigating risk in this specific scenario is that we're investing into something, we're trying it out, right? So after we've tried it out, we have a pretty good sense, hey, this works, or hey, this doesn't work at all. And so now that we've seen that this investment works, I know I want to scale it. So I want to add more money to it. I want to add things like maybe credit cards or lines of credit or just different capital that I get access to. My active income, I want to pour it into this investment, because there's no point in reinventing the wheel. You want to invest into things that you know are working and things that you've experienced yourself, or maybe somebody in your investment community that is making money with this investment, and you can go ahead and tap into that and make money as well. So this brings me to the fourth question that I ask, and this is, how can I make more profit? So I do not believe in static investments. I think every single investment has a certain degree of, it's kind of like perfection or customization. So when I see an investment opportunity, I know that it's not perfect as it is. It's going to be potentially a good investment opportunity, maybe even a great investment opportunity, but it's not perfect. And so that means that I can find things to improve. So a quick example of something like that is Airbnbs. Let's say I have an Airbnb. I could have a wildly profitable Airbnb business, but there's always room for improvement. And here's what I mean. For example, we could have a house, and maybe this house is down in the south. So you have those warm summer nights. It's generally pretty warm throughout the year. And so in this house, I install a fire pit, and all of a sudden I realize, hey, I can make $50 more per night. That fire pit maybe cost me a couple $100, maybe $1,000 if it's a really nice one. And this fire pit allows me to charge $50 more per night because people are just blown away. Hey, none of the neighbors have a fire pit, right? But this guy, man, he's got a fire pit in his Airbnb. It's amazing, right? So it's really just blowing that customer away with the service that we're providing and the amenities that we're providing. So we're giving them so much value right there with that fire pit that they're literally willing to pay $50 extra per night. So I could be charging way more than my neighbors, and that fire pit is going to pay for itself very, very quickly. So that's what I call perfection. So in that passive income journey, we start perfecting. So now that we've perfected this specific investment, we can use that to scale. So, okay, now I know, hey, maybe I should put a fire pit in all my houses, right? Now I can start adding them one by one until every single one of my houses has a fire pit, and I'm able to charge more at every single house. So that's how you scale a portfolio, and that's how you make it more efficient and more effective, and you make a lot more money that way. And finally, this is the last question. I know it's kind of silly, but how do I get started? I think this is super important for a lot of you to hear, because what I see is people want to learn about investments, but sometimes they hesitate to get in on the investment. They learn everything, they know the numbers, they know why it's a great idea, they know what the potential risks, they have the money to do it, but sometimes they just kind of hesitate, and they're just like, oh, well, I'll just do it later. And then that opportunity passes. And I think the biggest loss that you can experience in your life is a lost opportunity. I've seen more money lost on opportunities that were not taken than I have ever seen somebody taking an investment and losing some money. It's exponentially higher, the amount of money that has been lost because an investment was not taken, than the amount of money that was lost from investments that were taken. So I would highly, highly recommend, if you see an investment opportunity and you like it and the numbers make sense to you, do your own due diligence, right? Don't get me wrong, do your due diligence, do your research, but if everything makes sense, don't forget to ask that last question. How can I get started? Because you want to be taking advantage of things that make sense. Otherwise, you're training your brain that you don't deserve those things. So every time you see a good investment opportunity, you start training your brain, oh, it's too good to be true. I don't deserve that as an investor. Don't say things like that to yourself, because you're training your mind to think in that way, and that's literally closing more opportunities from ever even reaching you. You could have an opportunity looking you right in your eyes, and you won't even take that opportunity because you've just trained yourself to not take opportunities. So guys, hopefully that was helpful. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.